everyone, thanks for watching a Sarah C. Poetry video. I know, it's getting increasingly hard to watch these videos live because the days are getting longer and it's light out now at 7:07 p.m. and at least here in the north where we live, it's getting a little bit warmer out. Everyone wants to be outside doing things, and that's fantastic. I'm all for living life and enjoying our days. And really, that's what life is. It's a collection of days. It's a collection of good and bad and great and boring days, and somehow they all add up to help shape us into who we are. What I'm realizing, and maybe it's now that I'm just getting older, is that we often forget. I know some of you do have a better memory than I do. I know a person who can recall what dinner was eaten on any given day, even from years and years ago. And recently I read a story or an article about this woman named Louise Owens, who I guess she'd be 44 now. She can recall every day since she was 11 years old. Look her up. It's a pretty amazing story, Louise Owens. And I'm sure these people are the exception, though, and not the norm, because many of us can't even remember why we walked into the room that we did. We often forget, and God knows it. That's why repeatedly in the Bible, he used physical markers to remind people of their spiritual encounters with him. For example, after the miraculous crossing of the Jordan River, he had people set up piles of stones to be a visual reminder of what he did. As time passed and people noticed the stones, the story was handed down from generation to generation. I think that we can all benefit from examining our lives and looking back to personal markers that have helped make us who we are today. There's lots of ways of doing it. One way would be to list names of people who have greatly impacted or influenced us during the course of our life. Another way to do this would be to list major events or record times of decision or maybe transition or a direction change. Of course, if you're like me and you have a hard time remembering dates and times, or you could do it in more of an artistic way and not be concerned as much with the when as with the what. I know people who record personal markers using physical things. They collect seashells or heart-shaped rocks or just other items that they find during special times in their life, so they will always be able to point back and look at them. I think doing this in any form is a great practice for anyone, but I really want to strongly encourage you, especially if you call yourself a follower of Jesus, to make time to find personal markers of our faith. Start now if you don't want to look back and backtrack. I think it'll be an encouragement for all of us to see evidence of God moving in our lives. Let's admit it. Life can be hard. Faith can be hard. Having something concrete or tangible on which to build our faith will mean it's more likely to stay firm. You take the Bible parables of the house on the rock or the seeds sown on fertile soil as examples. I mean, we all need good root system to stay strong. I wrote the poem that I'm sharing tonight for this very reason. It was meant to serve as a marker for a children's spiritual event in their lives. It was for their baptism. Last year, on September 11th, our oldest two children got baptized. They were 12 and 10 at the time, and clearly it was their decision. We wanted to make sure that they never felt pressured into doing it, and they really understood what it represented. Baptism is a symbol of the death of their sin and their new life beginning with Christ. Unfortunately, there are many spiritual and natural forces at work that distract us and lie to us about the truth of God's love and forgiveness. Anticipating that my children are normal people and they're going to have all sorts of days in their lives that are both good and bad, that are going to help shape them into who they are. I wanted them to be able to point back and remember that day of their baptism. I wanted them to be able to look and remember it because even simple, childlike faith is a reason to celebrate. It marks the beginning of what will hopefully be a long spiritual journey. Guys, we don't have to be grown-ups. We don't have to be Bible scholars or understand all the arguments for Christianity or have all the answers. Is that possible? To start a faith walk with Jesus. All it takes is guess, personalizing that simple picture that baptism portrays. We were drowning. We were dead because of the bad things that we've done. And Jesus came to our rescue. He took our place. He rose again, overcoming death's power. And because of that same power, we too can rise and live new lives as clean, forgiven, and restored people. All we have to do is to believe and choose to follow him. Just a week ago, on Mother's Day, another one of our children got baptized. Our 7-year-old son was so excited to tell everyone about what he believes that he wore his baptism shirt to school the very next day. I pray that his simple, easy faith will continue. But I also know that in order to mature, his faith will most likely be tested. I see how his 13-year-old brother, is daily bombarded at middle school with, I guess you could say, contrasting values and ideas. As my husband and I help our kids sort through their questions, we want them to remember that having ups and downs is a part of their journey. No matter what kinds of days that they have, their faith is still real. So anyways, I hope you enjoy hearing this poem as much as I enjoyed writing it. It's obviously, if you can read behind me, it's called Remember This Day. My child, remember this day when you accomplish great things. You are made in the image of the Creator. Remember this day when you believe you are not enough. You are promised purpose and hope. Remember this day when you face uncertainty. He longs to grant you wisdom. Remember this day when people notice your shine. You are radiating His glory. Remember this day when darkness seeks to devour. Light can always find a way. Remember this day when temptation is crouching. You are hearing His voice for a reason. My child, remember this day when you delight and wonder and awe. It's a glimpse of heaven on earth. Remember this day when fears become large and imposing. You have the power of the one who calms seas. Remember this day when life is precious. All good comes from Him. Remember this day when you feel invincible. His might is the source of your strength. Remember this day when you feel the weight of guilt. He makes all things new. Remember this day when joy becomes sadness. His arms are strong enough. Remember this day if you ever lose your way. His love will guide you home. My child, remember this day, the decision you made to love, to listen, to lead, to follow, to be free, to fully live for Him. Remember this day.